prior to the show, you and I were talking about this, and I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about it. JT Miller's underlying numbers. You had some stuff for us on this.
Yeah, it feels like we've talked a lot about Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson in part because of his contract situation, and everybody knows JT Miller is having a monster year. But I just wanted to highlight how big a difference it is compared to last season, especially through the first 50 games or so under Bruce Boudreau, because it's easy for somebody that doesn't watch the Canucks, for instance, out of market hockey fans, to look at Miller's point totals that on the whole look pretty similar last season compared to this year and think, oh, similar overall impact. But especially 5-on-5, there's a massive difference. So just to set the scene, before the coaching change, so this is around mid to late January, basically the same point we are now at this year, JT Miller ranked 190th among all NHL players with just 15 5-on-5 points. And the Canucks not only had rough underlying numbers in terms of controlling shots and scoring chances, losing both of those territorial battles, but also minus 11 goal differential with Miller on the ice at 5-on-5. Fast forward to where we are today, Miller ranks top 10 among all NHL players with 28 5-on-5 points, which is nearly double.
Mm-hmm.
And the Canucks are at a plus 14 goal differential with him on the ice. So that's such a massive difference. And I think a lot of people could have looked at Miller's play before the coaching change and said, okay, the point totals look good on paper, but he's a power play merchant. A big chunk of his production's also coming shorthanded, which is a bit of a mirage because he also had one of the highest goals against rate on the PK. And a lot of people would argue, hey, that's empty calorie point production. Whereas this season, man, it's been a night and day difference. And that's one of the biggest differences for why this Canucks team has been excellent so far this year.
Now, how much of this comes down to it's a better situation with Rick Tocchet, the conversations that we were having, I know on this show and in the market as well, the conversations we were having were, okay, and there's even a report on it too. I can't remember who reported it, but someone reported it that the Canucks management felt they had to bring Rick Tocchet in to, for lack of a better word, wrangle JT Miller and like get a hold of JT Miller. How much of this comes down to there is now a coach in place that, and I'm not trying to say JT disrespected Boudreau or didn't respect him or anything, but a coach that Miller, that seems to have been able to get the most out of Miller. How much of this comes down to the coaching change?
It's a massive part. And I did a lot of digging on this before the season started because Miller had that great 30-ish game turnaround under Rick Tocchet. And I spoke to a lot of people close to the situation. And the point that kept coming up was under Bruce Boudreau, Miller and Boudreau had a good relationship. And I'll say this, having spoken to Boudreau for that piece, Boudreau loves JT Miller. Mm-hmm. But the one problem was that because Boudreau's sort of a laid back, letting things go type of head coach, Miller felt there was a lack of accountability among the players. So when the Canucks got off to this awful start last year, he was almost a dictator in the locker room and was so it's almost like he forgot about what he needed to focus on with his own game. And he himself was trying to wrangle the team together.
Twice we've used the word wrangle on this show. That rarely happens.
And so that just, I think, created a bad cycle, not only for JT, but now I imagine it probably rubs some teammates the wrong way because you have this guy that his own game is slipping, and yet now he's angry. He's trying to hold guys accountable. And then when Rick Tocchet came in, a huge part of the reason he was able to turn around was Tocchet came in and he's that guy that can hold players accountable. And JT Miller was able to take a step back. And the message really to JT was just focus on your own game. Worry about yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. And that's what JT spoke about at the end of the season when he discussed the impact of Rick Tocchet coming in. And I think that mindset shift made all the difference in the world. Not to mention, when you look at practically watching him play, why is he playing so much better from a defensive and two-way perspective? A big reason comes down to his puck management, the lack of turnovers. And I spoke with JT specifically about that at the start of the season to ask him, why are you managing the puck so much better compared to last year? And he said that a big reason is they're trailing less in games. So he's not forcing plays. And I think JT is also somebody that wears his heart on his sleeve. So he gets frustrated. And when you get frustrated, he's the type to let it affect his decision making. Whereas now I think he's just in a much better frame of mind because of the team situation, because of the coaching situation. And you can see it on a night-to-night basis.
Canucks Conversation with Harman and Quads every weekday at 2 p.m. Be sure to check it out on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. And if you missed it, go check it out on your favorite podcast catcher app.